January 2026. 10 more powerful than hardware 4. So that will in the next year, end of next year, there will Tesla have a new faster semiconductor computer processor for that out. Then they can calculate much more faster. So that's stuff I like to read about on my automotive video. So we're going to read about this later. So I cannot let this and I cannot let this stop my project. I cannot finish this global automotive industry by country. So we have to leave it a bit, because I like to continue all stuff like this. I have to read about lithium-ion batteries, because we use this in electric cars. We use all kind of lithium-ion batteries. That's all kind of spaghetti roads. So I did open stuff, but that's the boss. I did open all kind of random stuff. Now I have this automotive industry by countries. I have opened the petrol engine, the diesel engine. We need to read about it. Classic cars, history of electric. So I have 2 electric villages. So that's stuff I like to read and talk about in my language, Danish. Electric cars, plug-in electric cars, plug-in hybrid, and then this that's it's a Chinese, this brand, BRD. I opened some BRD because I think it did look nice. Microvans, did open a lot of stuff. Kai cars in Japan. Kai trucks they use, because they have this very narrow streets in Japan. So not look this 1 month's list of best selling. So I have this open Autobahn in Germany. Toyota Crown. That's look very nice. They have this Toyota Lexus. They have this luxury brand, Toyota Lexus. So we have a lot of nice cars, but you need to have a driver license. Toyota Crown. So I have to read. I have all these spaghetti roads. I'm driving this American truck simulators. So it's like this when you drive in American truck simulators. You have all kinds of this spaghetti road. But I use a navigator. I have a navigator with voice. Tell me turn left, turn right. So it tells me where to turn. That's helped me a lot when I'm driving. So they have all kinds of crazy roads. When you go into like this direction, you can drive around, get up here. So you get up here, drive around here, get this direction. All kinds of clever way to make highway roads, interstates. So I need to read about that. They have all kind of way to make roads. road systems. They have all kind of a way like this. That's something you can read in a university. You can study city planning, how to planning traffic planning. I think you can do that. So that's actually very complicated. I play this computer game called Citizen Skyline. Citizen Skyline, you build a large city and road systems. So that's actually very complicated to make the traffic flow in a clever way. But now the cars are getting more clever. They have cars are like computers. They have powerful computer chips, can calculate, and we have all these self-driving cars. So the automotive industry and how to drive a car, I think that will be much different in the future, because we have all these robotic cars. We have powerful computer chips, all this Tesla autopilots. We have all kinds of autopilots, probably like this Waymo robot taxis. They do that in Europe, in the United States, so like San Francisco. But later they will start to do it in Japan. Then in Europe, maybe in 10 years, they start to have self-driving robot cars in my country in like 10 or 20 years. And the semiconductor computer chips is much faster in 10 years, the computer. But of course, if we're going to have a World War III, if we have going to have a big war in NATO against Russia, that will impact the automotive industry a lot, because you cannot just drive around if you have all kinds of drones and missiles dropping down, like in Ukraine, and destroying the road networks and bridges and all the infrastructures. So if we have a large World War III, a large war in Europe, that will impact the whole automotive industry. We have many expensive automotive plants in Germany, in France, and all kind of this. That will be a target for missiles. And in Germany, Volkswagen have this super large automotive factory. Stuff like this, if you are in war, will be a target for missiles. They will bombing big factories like this and computer chip factories. Intel have a computer chip factory somewhere in Berlin. So we hope not we have to stop this war in Ukraine, because this war in Ukraine is not good for the peace in Europe and the automotive industry. War and global economic crisis is not good, because then people are getting scared. The normal citizen, 100 millions of people, are getting scared about the future. Then they're not like to borrow a lot of money to a new car. They will just use their old car and save the money on the bank account. Then the car production, the sale, they only make the number of cars very expensive to production cars. So the automotive industry only makes the number of car people are buying. They're not just producing many hundreds of thousands, millions of cars. Nobody is buying, because it's super expensive and complicated to make this car production. So they have all this sale office. They have all this global sale office. They're selling their cars by country. And then they have their automotive plants all around the world. They can see every day and week, they can see the number of how much cars people are buying. Then they can adjust their production. They're adjusting their production. So they can adjusting the production a little bit up and down on this car factories. So if they have a good economic people are buying more cars in United States, they can raise their car production a bit. And if the car sales drop in Europe, but now we have this tariff war. The United States, Europe and China stop, so I don't know what's going on, all this stuff, but that's not good. All this tariff war is not good for the global automotive industry, because people, it's getting more expensive to buy cars and exporting cars. So that's not good to do that. That's hurting, so war is not good. War is not good, and global economic crisis are not good for the automotive. The automotive industry is very sensitive for the global economic and the peace in the world and all this world crisis and energy crisis. But now it's different because we're going in the future. We're going to use electric cars. So now we need electric cars need electricity. They need power, and you can make electric power many ways on the windmills and solar cells and geothermal heating. I don't know if you can make power by that, but you make heating for houses in a geothermal heating to make some water pipes 3 kilometers down in the ground. You can make electricity many ways on waves, on solar cells, and wind power, wind turbines, windmills. But now we have this Donald Trump. Donald Trump don't like windmills. He just closed a big windmill project on something Staten Island, something state close to there. That's one company in Denmark called Ørsted. They're losing like 30 billion Danish, 60 billion Danish kroners, like 10 billion dollars. So they're actually close to going broke. The Danish state owns like 50% of this Danish Ørsted energy company that makes windmills in United States. And Donald Trump have stopped many of this windmill production because he likes to go back to the old days where the cars are driving on the petrol engines, using oil and petrol, because United States have a very large oil industry. They're using lots of their interest to go back to old days before year 2000, where cars are driving on oil, on petrol and diesel. And but that's not how the future. Donald Trump cannot go change the whole future of the automotive industry, because electric cars is the future. This electric computer cars, that's how the cars will be in the future. But because we still have the old style petrol, but that's not Donald Trump is not deciding how the automotive industry should be in the future. That's the customers, because Donald Trump cannot just say you cannot just make petrol engine cars if nobody is buying. You not just make the car factories, all this Ford and all this American car brands cannot start producing just petrol engine cars if they're not buying. Nobody likes to buy this big engines, because it's much better with electric engines, because electric engine is not breaking down like there's not a lot of moving parts in electric engine compared with a large V8 engines. So the future is not petrol engines. The future is electric cars, computer cars. But Donald Trump, he's an old man. He's 80 years old. He don't care about. He just like to make some money. Because many of his friends, they have a lot of money in the oil industry. In the American oil industry, they have a lot of stocks. They just like to make some money. They don't care about cars, and they just like to have more billions of dollars. So the global automotive industry is super sensitive to what's going on in the world, in the global politics. I need to have a globus. I need to have a real globus. But of course, you can have a kind of economic crisis in the United States. If the car sales drop there, you can still have a good car market in Europe, a normal car market in Europe and in Asia. So it's not like this. If you have an economic crisis in Europe, the whole automotive industry will go in crisis. So that's just so working by region, like Europe, United States, and China. But China is so big, China's own region, and Japan is, but of course the Toyota, Mazda, all these big Japanese car brands. Japan is their own region. China, Japan, India. Then they make this like a whole area, whole region. Then you have whole Africa. Africa not really have, but you have car plants in Egypt and Algeria and South Africa. They have car factories. And this whole South America, Central America, they have a lot of cars. You have these big cities. I cannot remember the name. They have this super big city, Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo. They have these super large cities with millions and millions of cars and buses and trucks and semi-trucks. So we have a car all over. But the future is electric cars. That's not petrol engines. So the future is electricity. All kind of electricity. The future is not oil, because oil make pollution when you're burning the oil. It makes this CO2, this carbon stuff, and all. That's not that. They make a lot of stuff in oil, chemicals. They're polluting the atmosphere on the earth. So you can make more clean energy, more clean energy by electricity, by windmills and solar cells, and all kind of course you can do nuclear power plants to make electricity. But you have another problem with nuclear power plants. They can make a lot of nuclear pollution, and it's a target if you have a war. If you have a war and you have many nuclear plants, all these nuclear plants in Europe will be a target if we have a war against Russia. They like to hit the nuclear plants with missiles. If they can blow up this nuclear plants by missiles. So that will be a target in war, this big. So that's better to have large solar parks it's more difficult to blow up if you have many square kilometers of solar cells. That's something you can replace. You can replace some solar cells, but it's more difficult to replace a super expensive nuclear plant. And windmills you can replace. So that's how I will do my video about the automotive industry. I'm not going to make just a video about expensive Mercedes or some expensive German cars nobody can afford to buy anyway. Many car YouTubers they do like, so I'm not getting many views because maybe nobody like to watch my car video. But then you can go watch all these YouTube channels about expensive supercars on YouTube. They know nothing about cars. They know nothing about the global automotive industry. They're just making video about cars to make content, to make money. So, but automotive industry is politics, is global politics, is global economic and world history. It's about everything. Many hundred million people, and they are dependent to have a car to go to work. And they have to replace this car, and after a few years, every 5 or 10 years, they have to get a new car. And then we have the automotive industry is making this car. So then you can buy a new car, you can buy an old car. But now today we are going from we are in year 2025 now. So we are in a transfer period from a petrol engine to electric engine. So, but we are in a transfer because now they're producing the electric cars. So many of this automotive industry, they maybe slow down the production of petrol engine cars and diesel engines. But they will still do that in India, make petrol engine the next 50 years, I think. But I think in Europe, after 10 years, in Europe after 2035, it's not legal to sell petrol engine cars in Europe. They make some, I'm not really understand, I think they make it not legal. You can only buy electric cars after 2035 in 10 years. So now we are in a kind of transfer period from this old area petrol cars, the oil, from the oil old petrol cars that very dependent of the oil industry, transfer to green energy, electric energy and electric cars, computer cars, self-driving cars, autopilots, semiconductors, computer chips to cars, software to cars, all kind of stuff. So it's an interesting period in the automotive history because there's a lot of change, costs a lot of money to change this car factories from to change obsolete production lines. Cost many hundreds of $billions, to change all these production lines from old style petrol cars to electric cars. But I think they have done that many years. The automotive industry have invest in new production lines, new car factories. Because that's a whole new way to production cars. When you do electric cars, it's another way to make a car than a car with a petrol engine. So they have to build whole new factories because they need batteries, this lithium-ion batteries. So that's what I like to read about. So we're going to read later the automotive industry by country. We just look at that. We just look at a little bit everything. And later I'm going to read about the automotive industry in like China or Japan. I have it open. That's why I'm trying to get to the muscle cars. That's American famous muscle cars. And that's some we had in old days. All kind of famous cars. I like to read about some famous cars just for fun. They don't need to be expensive. Like this Fiat 500. All kind of cars. BMW. That's some micro cars. I have some micro cars. The Fiat Panda, you can get a good price with petrol engines. Because you cannot get much second-hand electric cars like less $10,000 or $70,000. But you can get many hundred different of Fiat Panda with petrol engine, something like this. So we're going to read about them. That's a car maybe I'm going to buy. Because I have a low income, I don't have $20,000 to buy old electric cars. And that's a Mini. But some still collect this. Some collect this classic cars. They're collecting this classic cars just for fun. They like it. The Trabant. Some are collecting this as classic cars, and they try to keep them running. This old style fossil engine, what you call petrol engines, driving on oil product like gasoline. We call it benzene in my gasoline. I think you call it in English. We call it benzene or diesel. Warburger. So I'm going to read all kind of stuff. So I cannot be Tata Nano, I cannot be stuck in this video. I have to kind of continue. That's from Iran. Iran makes their own car. That's a nice one. I would like to have this, but probably costs a lot of money. This Cadillac, that's a big American SUVs. So Donald Trump likes to get back to this area when every American are driving this big American SUVs with big V8 engine using a lot of oil. So his friend in the American oil industry can sell a lot of oil and petrol to this many millions citizens in the United States. But that's not how the future will be, I think. Because first this car is super expensive. They are very large and you cannot sell it in Europe because they're using a lot of petrol, costs a lot of money in taxes. But that's a nice one. I would like to have one if anyone would like to donate one. Fourth generation. That's a good car for travel long distance. It's made for long distance travel, air conditioned and good seats. Because these cars in Europe, they're super small. That's like cartoon cars, like this micro cars. All this Toyota Aygo and Peugeot 106, I think, and Citroën C1, I think. All this cartoon micro cars. You can barely sit inside this car.